Imagine this: a quiet janitor going about his day, mopping floors and keeping to himself, when a rowdy biker gang storms in. They mock him, kick over his cleaning supplies, and destroy his tools, laughing at his seemingly powerless reaction. What they don't know is that this janitor isn't just some ordinary man. Behind the humble uniform lies a retired Green Beret, a man trained to survive, strategize, and take on challenges most of us couldn't even imagine. The gang's arrogance blinds them to the storm they've just unleashed. As they continue their reckless behavior, the janitor remains calm, calculating his every move. The tension builds as you wonder, how far can they push him before he finally reveals his true identity? Stick around to see what happens when the janitor watches in silence as the gang tears through his supplies, laughing and throwing insults his way. His hands tighten on the mop handle, but he doesn't react, not yet. He knows better than to escalate things too quickly. Years of experience have taught him patience, even in the face of disrespect. The bikers, however, are completely unaware of who they're dealing with. To them, he's just another quiet face in the crowd, someone they can push around without consequence. What they don't see is the sharp mind behind his calm demeanor. This janitor once led missions in the world's most dangerous places, but now he's traded combat boots for work boots. As they continue their antics, his eyes scan the room. He's not looking for revenge. He's assessing the situation, planning his next move. Little do they know, their behavior is setting the stage for something they'll never forget. Group of bullies bites off way more than they can chew. You won't believe how this story unfolds. The gang's leader, a burly man with a leather vest covered in patches, kicks over a bucket of water, sending it spilling across the floor. "Oops," he says with a smirk, as the others burst into laughter. The janitor kneels down without a word, grabbing a towel to mop up the mess. To them, this is a sign of weakness, but to him, it's just another step in staying under the radar. Meanwhile, a few bystanders watch from the corner of the room, whispering among themselves. They're torn, should they step in, or is it better to stay out of it? Some recognize the janitor as the quiet guy who always helps fix things around the building, but none of them know the truth about his past. As the bikers continue their taunts, the janitor remains composed. But inside, he's mentally cataloging every detail. The exits, their body language, and even T, leader of the gang, grabs the janitor's mop, snapping it in half with a grin. "What are you gonna do now, old man?" he taunts, tossing the broken pieces to the floor. The other bikers cheer him on, their laughter echoing through the room. The janitor takes a slow, deep breath. His face remains calm, but his eyes sharpen, quietly observing every move they make. A younger gang member steps closer, knocking over a trash can, its contents spilling everywhere. "You're too slow, man. Clean this up already," he sneers. For a brief moment, the janitor's gaze meets the leader's, and there's a flicker of something that gives the man pause. But the gang's confidence outweighs their caution. They see an unarmed, quiet man and assume they've won. What they don't see is the subtle shift in his stance, or the way his hands now rest near his sides, steady, ready. The air grows heavy, and even the bystanders seem to sense it. Something big is about to happen. He items they're carelessly tossing aside. He knows the moment to act hasn't come yet, but it's getting closer. Just as the tension in the room reaches its peak, the sound of a door creaking open catches everyone's attention. An older man in a security uniform steps inside, clearly uneasy as he takes in the scene. "Everything okay in here?" he asks, his voice shaking slightly. The gang's leader lets out a laugh. "Yeah, everything's fine. Just teaching this guy a lesson in humility." The others chuckle, but the janitor doesn't even glance at the guard. Instead, he remains focused, his mind calculating. But then something unexpected happens. The leader notices a faint scar running along the janitor's forearm as he kneels to pick up the broken mop. "Hey, where'd you get that?" he asks, his tone shifting. There's a pause, heavy and electric, as the janitor finally speaks, his voice calm but firm. "Places you wouldn't survive," he replies. The room falls silent, the gang suddenly unsure. The leader narrows his eyes, sensing something's off. But before anyone can react, the janitor's steady composure begins to feel like something far more dangerous. The leader steps closer, the smirk on his face faltering. "What's that supposed to mean?" he growls, trying to reassert control. But the janitor straightens up, his calm demeanor suddenly radiating quiet authority. "It means you've had your fun," he says evenly. "Now it's time for you to leave." The gang laughs, but their confidence wavers as the janitor takes a deliberate step forward. His movements are precise, almost too smooth for someone who's spent years cleaning floors. The leader grabs his jacket, but before he can react, the janitor's hand moves like lightning, effortlessly twisting his arm and forcing him to his knees. The others freeze, unsure of what just happened. "Stop," one of them shouts, but the janitor's calm voice cuts through the chaos. "Walk away now, and you won't regret it," he says, releasing the leader and stepping back. Just as they begin retreating, the janitor reaches down and picks up the broken mop handle. He tosses it aside but keeps one small piece in his hand, a Green Beret patch he'd hidden inside. "You should think twice about who you mess with," he says quietly, tucking the patch into his pocket. The gang stares, then quickly leaves, shaken and silent. As the door closes behind them, the janitor looks back at the security guard, who's wide-eyed and speechless. Without a word, the janitor picks up the rest of his tools and goes back to work, as if nothing had happened. But those watching know they've just witnessed something extraordinary, a story they won't soon forget. As the janitor resumes his work, the room feels different, quieter, almost reverent. The bystanders exchange glances, some whispering about what they just saw. The security guard lingers for a moment, clearly wanting to ask questions, but instead, he simply nods in respect and walks away. The janitor moves methodically, gathering the scattered supplies and tidying up the mess left behind. To him, it's just another day, another moment where his past brushed up against his present. But for those who witnessed it, the scene leaves a lasting impression. Later, as the janitor locks up for the night, he pauses at the door, glancing at the piece of the broken mop he'd tucked into his pocket. A faint smile crosses his face before he tosses it into the trash. He doesn't need reminders of who he was. He knows exactly who he still is. And that's enough.